No. Okay.
As you're joining, if you would mute your line, we have, let's see. Yep, we have 300 people so far. Breaking a 9:30 call. Attendance record here on our 4th anniversary. We'll give 9:30 call chart. That's right, Ron Dorsey, hashtag 4 years strong. As I was looking at Facebook this morning, the memories of today 4 years ago was that there was the order to shut down childcare. So if you remember, everything shut down on March 25th. But today, 4 years ago, was the day that that order was given. So as we're waiting, maybe add to chat if you remember how long you've been on the call. Were you there at the beginning? Have you joined us along the way? And we will be spending all week volunteering, celebrating the 9:30 call. And as we said in the email, we've been struggling about whether this is a celebration. It's a celebration certainly of this call in this community, but kind of as the call started, it was during the global pandemic when we were worried about being safe, how we're serving children and families. I'm going to just fix my lighting over here. It's great to see so many people here at 352 people. I know we're also expecting the Secretary Tutwiler as well as Commissioner Kershaw. So I don't know if they're here yet.
I'm here, Amy.
Good morning, Secretary. How are you?
I'm doing well. Great to be in community with you and with everyone else.
Great to see you.
Good morning, Amy, and all early childhood advocates. Great to see you.
Now, Commissioner, I have to do a shout out. What time is it where you're zooming in from?
It's 7:30 here.
The 9:30 call goes to different time zones, different countries.
The 9:30 call goes on vacation. But not really ever. Not ever in 4 years. If you can take it from all the places you take it from, Amy O.
Exactly. I'll be heading to Amsterdam on Friday. So maybe we'll do it from there on Monday. Thanks for folks joining. Maura, it's 6:30 when Maura is. Well, whether this is your first call or your 4th year worth of calls, we're so happy to see all of you. And just here we're so excited to have the governor join us. And we'll do an interview style if folks use the chat for any questions. Our team strategies for children. So we have Marge, Neri, Titus, and Marissa here to help us with chat. So chat is a place for questions. And we're happy to take them as we go along.
And Amy, right before we get started, I also want to shout out to you and your team for the amazing work that you've done bringing us all together over these 4 years. I am just thrilled with how this community has responded and with your leadership. And so I just think we should all just take a moment and shout out to you and your team.
Yay.
Thanks, Laura. And to all of you, there would be no 9:30 call if it was just our team here. Everyone, wow, look at all those claps. Thank you for the wahoo. And I think just thinking about over the past 4 years, like this incredible, resilient community who has showed up. We have laughed, we have cried, we have supported each other. We have made sense of things that did not make sense. We came up with solutions. We did real-time policy development. It's pretty incredible to think of all that's happened on this call. The other headline that we'll be sharing more later this week is we are so excited to be releasing a case study about the 9:30 call. And so we worked with Minna Jung, a writer, to chronicle and document the 9:30 call over the past 4 years. We had folks who were interviewed, 9:30 callers that were interviewed, as well as just looking at the history, looking at some of the archives, looking at our webpage from 2020 where we took stock of what was happening. And just as I testified at the EEC board meeting, to read that is so powerful to see kind of where we all were. Governor Healey, good morning.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning to all of you.
So wonderful to see you. We're so glad to have you join us this morning.
Great.
We have hit 400,
Great.
which is a 9:30 call record.
Terrific. Well, good morning to you and to everyone at Strategies for Children. Congratulations on the 4th anniversary of this call. You were talking about how you all came together and how important it's been, and it really has made a difference, including in how it informs policy. And you saw some of that this year in what we were able to do as an administration and what we put forward now as we head into year 2. So I want to begin by just acknowledging how inspiring it's been to see how all of you came together during this pandemic in a time of deep crisis, and you used that experience to strengthen your community and your solidarity, and also your ability to advocate, not only for you as a profession, but for the children and the families that you serve. So I'm delighted to be here today, joined, of course, by Pat. Everyone knows Pat Tutwiler, our Secretary of Education, and Amy Kershaw, our Commissioner. And I want to thank them for their fabulous commitment and the work that they do with their teams day in and day out. And many of you know them very, very well, especially Amy. Thank you to all on the call for the work you do every day. I know it's not easy work. It's not well paid, that we're trying to change that. And you are among the most dedicated and passionate professionals in our state. And having visited a number of sites with Pat and Amy over the last year, I've seen that up close firsthand. And I'm just really grateful to all of you. I want you to know that early education and childcare is a top priority for our administration. I am very aware of the role and how important the role is that care providers play in making our lives and our communities better, and really establishing all the foundational things that our young kids need as they grow. My mom's a school nurse, still a school nurse to this day at 80. My stepdad was an educator, and I certainly appreciate very much and value very, very much the work that you all do. And that's also complemented by an incredible team that we have in the office. And because of all of this, it's why we proposed last year and secured $475 million to keep our C3 grants going. In our budget proposal for the upcoming year, we've proposed maintaining that level of funding. I'm sure you've heard about the decline in revenues, and there is a decline in revenues. We've also seen the end of federal funding. We saw tremendous funding through ARPA and other things over the last few years that now has sunset, has gone away. But I want to repeat and be clear that the $475 million for C3 grants is once again in our new budget proposal and is a top priority of our budget. We also want to do more than just keep you going. We know that the work involves more than just maintaining the status quo. And this is why we think it's so important that we find ways to invest in long-term solutions with you at the table as partners. We can't afford not to as a state. And I appreciate, Amy, your leadership and the team's engagement and leadership on this as we think through the issues. It's why just a couple of months ago in January, we announced a new historic effort, our Gateway to Pre-K. We're really, really excited about this. Basically, what this does, as you probably know, is that it will expand eligibility for childcare financial assistance from 50% of state median income to 85%. So a single mother, and I happen to be raised by one, she raised the five of us, a single mother with two can now earn over $100,000 and still qualify for help. Overall, we expect to reach 4,000 new low and moderate income families with this support. Not coincidentally, we also raised reimbursement rates for providers. We know that is absolutely key. So now every provider who serves these families will get at least a 5.5% increase. That comes out to more than $2,000 a year per child. These rates respond to the actual cost of providing care, and they work towards addressing some of the long-standing inequities, particularly across regions and age gaps. We're proud to be just one of 6 states that's been federally approved to use an alternative methodology to set our rates. So our rates will be based on cost rather than price of care, to better reflect what it actually costs you all to deliver service to families. We also are setting a new early education goal in Massachusetts. By the end of 2026, we want to make sure that every 4-year-old in all 26 gateway cities has pre-K. This is really, really important to the LGME. Universal pre-K, all 4-year-olds, all 26 gateway cities by the end of 2026, which is just around the corner, it seems. So that's how urgent we're acting and want to act in this space. That's more than 23,000 kids from mostly low-income families. We're going to do it by expanding the scale and the reach of the Commonwealth of CPPI, the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative, which you're all familiar with. So this means investing in both our public schools and our trusted community providers, like many of you who are on this call, including our center-based programs and our family childcare providers. Finally, the last thing we want to do is build a system-wide solution that really does bring everyone to the table. I signed an executive order a few weeks ago, basically saying and requiring that teams from across my administration would work together on childcare from a variety of secretariats. Childcare is an issue that extends well beyond the Secretariat of Education. We know that, you know that. Business community knows that, employers know that. I mean, people are now coming on board. I was with Secretary Gina Raimondo recently, our United States Secretary of Commerce, and in a whole business panel with employers, she talked about the absolute priority for her and absolutely foundational being childcare. And I think that's really important that, you know, we have those kinds of conversations and that kind of engagement. So I signed an order, required teams from across our administration work together on this, help work with providers, with facilities and workforce pipeline constraints. Let's look at the way to improve wages for educators. Let's convene with the business community on this, because employers really do need to be at the table. And I think that together, these initiatives are going to build on the great work that's already been done by so many of you, by advocates, by legislators who are determined to meet the need of early education and childcare in Massachusetts. We want to, and we should be, a model for this country. And for me, that starts with listening, particularly to those who are on the ground, on the front lines. That is our providers, you all, because you're best situated to tell you about what is happening, the families you serve, and what it takes to really thrive and be successful. So Amy, thank you so much for allowing us to come on this morning, and we look forward to further engagement with all of you.
I mean, I feel like I might just want to drop the mic after all that, Governor. I think, as you know, I started as a preschool teacher, program director, now advocate. The fact that you just talked about all the incredible policy, you know, that you understand the complexity and kind of what people are facing every day, and then what the policy solutions are. I think for so long, it was easy to just say, this is not working, this is not working. but to have the attention and the prioritization of a governor, just is incredible to feel. I know on the 9:30 call, we have a community full of love and hope. So I'm asking folks to send some love and appreciation to you through the chat, because we also know it's not easy to be governor of the Commonwealth, even though, as we saw yesterday, we put in the chat, the Dunk Queens, that was a brilliant move for the St. Patrick's Day breakfast. But Governor, you are a repeat guest here to the 9:30 call, which some people might not know, is you joined us when you were Attorney General in June of 2021. And can you remember back to that time, what it was like to be Attorney General? You were suddenly in the spotlight as a kind of policymaker in Massachusetts. So you just want to reflect on kind of what that felt like back then.
Well, I left practice at a private firm back in 2007 to join the Attorney General's office under Martha Coakley. And I could never have imagined where that would lead me. I certainly never aspired to run for public office or be a politician, but my work and the time in that office really led me to, I guess, where I am today. I loved being Attorney General. It is an incredibly important office. I have deep regard and respect for Attorney General Andrea Campbell and the work that she and her teams are doing. She certainly understands how foundational childcare is and early education is. And we've been supportive of one another's efforts. As Attorney General, we were able to use some of the power of that office, not only through litigation, but the way we used monies that we got from companies we went after who did bad things or did harmful things, whether it was violating child labor laws, and making sure that we were using that money to make sure that these young people were properly paid. But more importantly, the funding of so many programs around violence prevention and trauma-informed care. I think about our work against the Sacklers, right? And all the opioid manufacturers, which is where the team and I spent considerable time bringing back, hundreds of millions of dollars that are going into programs for substance use disorder and addiction, an issue that still sadly plagues so many families today. But I guess to reflect back, Amy, I'm just filled with gratitude for my experience. I think it makes me a better governor, having had the experience as Attorney General, and certainly as governor. It's there new and different opportunities around public policy, and I'm just grateful, as I know Lieutenant Governor Driscoll is grateful to have the opportunity to serve and to work with everybody. Our main focus right now, as you've heard us speak, is we got to make Massachusetts more affordable, more competitive, more equitable. And that's part of what we're doing here with childcare, right? It's also why we've got a heavy focus on housing. We've got to drive down the cost of housing. That's why I went big with the housing bond bill. $4 billion allows us, remember, that's not budget spending. Okay, that's allowing us to go out and borrow so that we have the money coming in that we can use to invest and incent development. How many of your employees and coworkers have to live very far away from where they serve? So many people are still renting. They can't even fathom home ownership, which is really the way to close, particularly the racial wealth gap in this country, is through home ownership. Some of you, I'm sure, have aging parents, right? Can't afford to downsize right now. And I don't want to see your kids leaving the state simply because they can't afford rent or a place to live. So, that's been a big focus for our administration, and certainly expanding access to childcare and early education. We used to talk about it too in the AG's office. It was so clear, the connection between, for example, literacy rates, third grade, and what was going to happen in the course of one's life trajectory. And that's why, we also have this wonderful program that Secretary Tutwiler is leading around literacy, right? So it's also why, the fundamentals, making sure your little people show up, and many of you do, you're providing breakfast and lunch. How is a young person supposed to be able to learn if they're hungry? So I'm proud that working with the legislature, we were able to get universal breakfast and lunch now permanently in Massachusetts. And finally, and then I'll be quiet, some of us are busy getting our papers together to file our taxes. I am proud that our work with the legislature last year, first time tax cuts in over 20 years, including establishing our state, as a result of the tax cut bill I signed. We are the most generous state in the country when it comes to your ability to claim a credit for any child or dependent at home. That's real money back in people's pockets. I just want to advertise and remind people about that as you file your taxes. Also, we doubled the senior circuit breaker, which may be good for your households.
So such important. I think, like you've talked about, this comprehensive policy making. We said during COVID that children don't live in funding streams, and we've created a lot of these artificial barriers. And I think this comprehensive approach is very exciting. Tomorrow we're going to have Secretary Lauren Jones on the call. It was a coincidence, but an incredible coincidence. I think people are so excited about this executive order, about thinking about this all government approach. Many of the lessons that we've learned through COVID, still are true today. And Strategies for Children is working with Project Bread to think about what does it look like for birth to 5, because we know preschool meals is incredible. And it's been exciting to think about what are some other policy solutions when we think about the birth to 5 community. When you were Attorney General, you also were getting calls from families about, if why do I have to pay tuition if my programs aren't open? I can remember you just understanding kind of the fragile kind of ecosystem that many of these programs exist in. I also want to, we are recording this call because we know that there are people who cannot leave where they, working with young children and families. And as you gave shout outs to folks who work in centers, folks who work in family child care providers, we heard you talk about the mixed delivery system, I think, which is, has been, preschool expansion in Massachusetts has been a long story and a bit complex, but your commitment to really understanding the system, the EEC board meeting in Salem, really highlighting what it looks like when a whole community comes together to best think about how to serve preschool age children. When you think about your day-to-day work and you visit across the state and education programs, kind of what stands out for you? It can be intimidating to have the governor, except that most children don't quite know the gravity of your visit. So kind of what has stood out to you as you visited programs across the Commonwealth?
Well, I've loved the opportunity that I've had to join Amy and her team, Pat sometimes as well, out and about. And I just want to give huge credit to Commissioner Kershaw and her team for their work, particularly their engagement. I mean, one thing I really stress to my teams across the board is get out and see it, be part of it, take it in, and that's the way we're going to get the most pragmatic and solution-based, policy. So I really thank Amy and the team. What stands out is a couple things. One, it is always the case that the best way for me to start my day is with little people, and to see just their joy. They show up. They don't know of this world yet necessarily, all the good and all the bad that's out there. They know love and they experience love in these centers, and that is just so precious. And you see that reflected in their eyes and their smile. You're right, Amy. They don't know who the hell I am when I show up necessarily, and I'm just a hair taller than a lot of them. So not that imposing, but they're so warm. They come up and they wrap their arms around my leg, or and it's just so sweet to get to engage. The other thing I see is just the incredible warmth and dedication of the providers. As I mentioned, my mom was and still is. She's 80 this June, and but is still a substitute school nurse, K-8. And my mom was always the place where her office. If you were sick, of course, but if you were just having trouble,
right,
you could go see her. And I know the care and the love and the compassion that she showed to young people. And I think of that when I see the same thing reflected in all the providers I hear from. And I'm just so grateful to you for your work. If you've been with me, you probably know that when we do those roundtables or other things, I really do want to know, like, what are your ideas? What are you seeing with families? What can we do? What should we be doing? beyond just the space of EEC? Like, what are you seeing out there? Because you really are on the front lines, witness to so much, and I just really appreciate what you do.
I'm going to remove all the spotlights so you can see the incredible turnout that we've had today. This is a little dicey as I remove it, but I guess any other advice? We know that folks who are working every day, you know, sometimes it's hard work. We often say that through COVID, it felt like we were heard and seen for the first time. That suddenly everyone really understood the connection to the economy, the connection to child development, the connection to supporting families in general. Kind of what advice would you give to folks who kind of are waking up every Monday morning, taking a deep breath, walking into those programs, opening up their homes and family childcare? And what would you want to share with folks who are listening? We have 429 folks, a 9:30
Wow.
call record. I've received emails from other people that said, I see you're having a hard time getting high profile clients here for the 9:30 call. But we are marking this anniversary of a time that was not so bright and not so full of hope. So what advice would you give as folks continue this incredibly important work?
Well, I guess I would say that it matters and your advocacy matters. And sure, a lot of it was brought to light. I mean, your advocacy was always there, but I think more people paid attention to it, of course, as a result of COVID and what was a devastating time of crisis. But you've used that to full advantage. Don't take your foot off the gas. Continue with that, because we need to build on the momentum here as more people have a greater appreciation of and apprehension of how fundamental childcare is to, of course, the health and development and growth of our young people, but also to what we want to do as a state. I can't expect people to go to work or be back at work unless they have the ability to ensure that their birth through 5 population is well cared for during the day. It's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, we saw so many women leave the workforce during COVID, and a key to getting them back in to that is dealing with childcare, right? And so I would just say, keep your foot on the gas on this. And the other thing I'd say is, I'm sure all of us, it's hard. So you have to find a way to, we talk about resilience. That is certainly important. I would say find a way to fill your cup and remind yourself why it is you do what you do. Any of us who work in service, or any of us, whether it's public or private, it's certainly not for the money. Money matters, and I can't expect people to do, this work that is so important unless they can actually make a living, right? So more work on that. I don't want to minimize that, because I know the struggles that people are going through, which is also why Pat made sure that we were going to make community college free to anybody 25 and older. That's the law now. We got that done last year because, we want people to not incur costs as they look to further their career. But find the things that, remind you about why it is that you do this. For me, maybe it's just one person. If I did nothing else, it's just the reminder that, oh yeah, we did that, and it actually impacted this person's life or this family's life. And, find those small victories. You have them every single day because of the nature of your work and your ability to influence how a little one is feeling, good or bad, giving them esteem, giving them self-confidence, giving them the tools to go out in this world and be all that they can be. And just please remember that, hold on to that, and know that we're going to continue to work to build in the financial resilience, the infrastructure resilience that you need alongside
Hi,
all of this.
good. How are you?
Oh, we have somebody,
Thank you.
as always, I'm trying to spotlight our team, Governor Healey. So we know that I get to be here every morning you know, join. So as folks are thinking, we do have a call Monday through Thursday. We do it 5 days a week. We've gone down to 4 days a week. And I think we just are so excited to think about the future of the 9:30 call. As I said, we are going to release a case study next week, really highlighting and documenting all that's happened here. And I think one thing I just want to share is somebody, it was Dr. Kim Lucas had a quote in the case study that said, there aren't many places where a governor can sit side by side on a Zoom screen with a family child care director. There aren't many places where we laugh, cry, come up with solutions, and that it's only a half an hour. It really has been this incredible community that has showed up every day for children and families since March 10th, 2020. And just want to, you know, I appreciate all the love for us and appreciate for the governor. And then just remember the people who are, you know, calling in every day doing this work. So as I said in the chat, we are going to share the chat with the governor. So if you want to send some extra love and appreciation through the chat. Otherwise, Team SFC, maybe, so we have Titus Das Remedios, Marissa Fear, Deganeris Garcia, and Marge Mahoney. This is our team at Strategies. We are just so grateful to have you on this morning, Governor. And please, anytime, open invitation. If you want to get to 400 people quickly, this is the place to do it. We will continue to advocate with the House and the Senate to make sure that our state budget reflects what we need for young children and families. And just are so excited and inspired by your leadership and just the way that you understand all the complex issues that surrounds young children and families.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful week. Appreciate you and all you do. And many thanks to Commissioner Kershaw, Secretary Tutwiler, and the team, who I know will continue to be in dialogue. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Have a great day. And we will be back here tomorrow morning at 9:30 with Secretary Lauren Jones. And so we're excited for that conversation as well. If you got this link from someone else, please sign up at the 9:30 call link where you'll get the daily schedule. As I said, we're here Monday through Thursday, and we will continue to enjoy this incredible community. So we'll stay in for a few minutes. We want to keep the chat coming, which we'll send to the commissioner, to the governor. We'll send to the commissioner and the secretary as well. Thanks for joining and have a great day. Take care.